My guest today is difficult to describe. His father calls him Guruji, his disciples think of him as God. Hard-nosed political magazines put him on their cover, and hundreds of thousands flock for his benediction. So what sort of person is he? Well, that's a question I often have asked myself. Let's see if we find out as I introduce you to Sri Ravi Shankar. Welcome to the program. Let's start with that question. Your parents talk of the miracles you performed as a child. Many of your disciples refer to you almost as if you were a deity. How would you describe yourself, as a man or as a god?
I am just a child. I am no different from any one of you.
In which case, why is it then Shri? Why won't just one Shri do?
I am happy with having one Shri too.
Do you prefer Shri?
No preference at all, but if people want to call me, address me with whatever, I don't object them, Everybody has a right to.
Let's then talk
about
the child in you. In fact, you've often said in your interviews, I'm a child, I haven't grown up. What exactly do you mean?
Everyone has a childness, I think, childlikeness in them. I don't feel any barrier between me and anybody else. Perhaps that's what I would call them as child.
It's interesting you should say that. Most people think the child in them is something that they should suppress or they should forget. Do you value the child in you?
Absolutely, absolutely. We are all made up of substance called love. We are all love. But somehow in that expression of ourselves, we restrict. We are worried about what other people are thinking about us, They're not able to be innocent and be with everybody. This is what I wonder. Why do we do that?
So do children have more of these qualities, or do they find it easier to express these qualities?
Children are, I think they're able to express their love as they are.
So are you a child because you can express your love without being embarrassed or shy?
Perhaps.
There's something else you say. You've in your book written, God is very naughty, God loves fun. How do you know?
We have always said Ananda, use the word Ananda, bliss, joy, fun. When you see the whole life and you see it from a complete perspective, it is just the play and display of one consciousness. And obviously God loves fun, that's why so many varieties are there.
What about God being very naughty?
It's an expression, fun goes with naughtiness, isn't it? When the fun is internalized and it's your nature, and that's what we call naughty too.
So your image of God is of a sort of playful, jovial cherub.
Absolutely. Not the one who is sitting like a judgment and who takes the event too seriously, but one who manifests himself in so many ways.
A sort of laughing Buddha image.
Absolutely.
Now you're best known for the catchy art of living concept. Would I be right in saying that it's not so much a philosophy as a procedure for managing life?
You are right. Taking life lightly and appreciating life is what I call art of living.
You lay a lot of emphasis in the art of living on the management of stress. Why do you see stress as central to life rather than, say, desire?
No, stress is that which, excuse me, no, it's a stress that makes a person not being normal, not being free in his communications. When the stress is there, it's not there, when a person is able to communicate better, he is able to relate to people better, expression, perception, observation, all this improves. And all the trouble and problem one gets is through wrong perception, wrong expression and observation.
So stress is the fundamental problem in all our inability to express and communicate?
In every situation where there is problem, in the root of it you will find there is stress.
not unfulfilled or suppressed desire?
That causes stress. Unfulfilled and suppressed desires do cause stress, isn't it?
True, but then stress becomes a consequence, not the root. The root would be desire.
I won't say that. Stress sometimes could be over exhaustion. I mean, working too much, putting emphasis too much. And sometimes limited vision also brings stress.
Now, of course, in the art of living, you talk about the management of stress through breathing, what you call Sudarshan Kriya. Explain to me, how does breathing help?
Breath is the link between body and mind. For every emotion, there is a corresponding rhythm in the breath. And then for every pattern of breath, there are sensations that happens in the body. So if you manage the breath, you are able to manage the emotions. You know, the emotions create so many toxins in the system.
If I breathe correctly, I can control my emotions, and in fact I can generate the right emotions. Is that what you're saying?
By addressing the breath, you are able to change the emotions, like if you are depressed, unhappy, angry, dejected. Just attending to the pattern of the breath, the rhythms of the breath, you can do a lot about yourself.
How I breathe determines how I feel.
It's not exactly that way. It's how you feeling is related to certain patterns of breath. But if you attend to the breath, the feelings also change.
Now, you also talk a lot about the role of silence. Silence as a means and a mechanism for controlling the mind. That again, it intrigues people. How does silence affect one's state of mind?
Like someone who is well rested is able to perform better. So when the mind is quiet for some time, it's able to think better.
Because it relaxes?
Right.
Or because noise distracts?
Right. Both.
But then a lot of what you're saying now sounds like the precepts of yoga.
Of course, yoga has all this knowledge in it. Silence, breathing, exercise.
How much of the art of living, in fact, is a modern day repackaging of older Hindu traditions? And how much is something new that, in a sense, you've created?
When you write a poem, that poem may have some aspects of the nature or something from the ancient days, but it is something that comes up. It's not something you manipulate and do it. So the Sudarshan Kriya, what has come, it's just like that. After 10 days of silence, I just started doing it, and it has worked very well for everybody.
You mentioned just now the 10 days of silence. In fact, it's why it's often said that your understanding of human beings, of the problems they suffer, and the solution to those problems came to you during a 10-day process of silence that you observed in 82. What exactly happened during those 10 days?
Before that, there was a restlessness in me, that something, that there is a way out, that I'll be able to tell people for their problems, Though people do yoga, meditation, everything, there is a sense of, there is something that is inexpressible that wanted an expression out. And those 10 days of silence did that job.
But was there a voice that spoke to you? Was it God guiding you?
I wouldn't say there was some voice or something like that. It was just like an intuition, just like an intuition. Something happened.
And you needed those 10 days of silence to realize the intuition that was in
I
you?
don't know whether it was needed. Like I don't like to program it. Oh, if you do 10 days of silence, you may get something. Not like that. It was incidental after the 10 days of
Was it
program.
accidental, possibly?
Maybe.
You say, and I want to talk very much about your concept of enlightenment, that enlightenment is a rare combination of innocence and intelligence. Many people would say that innocence and intelligence can't coexist very easily.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I think we can maintain a part of us that is so beautiful deep within us, the sincere, the spiritual aspect in us.
This is the child.
Right.
So enlightenment is a state where the child is made intelligent without losing the
Absolutely.
childlike
Absolutely, you
innocence.
become a child again.
So a mature child is the epitome of the enlightened person.
Uh-huh.
In your writings, you also seem to suggest that enlightenment is something that we have to seek inwardly within us. It's not something that we get from the outside or from the
Right,
environment.
right, right. It's just realizing that you are love.
Love is what is common between all human beings.
That's what is.
You speak in aphorisms. Sometimes you speak in riddles and mysteries that people don't understand, but they are intriguing. For instance, you say of knowledge that it should lead to the beautiful point of I don't know. That sounds contradictory. How can knowledge lead to the point of not knowing? Surely knowledge should lead to knowing.
Yeah. There is one I don't know, that is an ugly I don't know. You begin with that and say, oh, I don't know. Then there is restlessness. From that you come to a point, to a beautiful I don't know. That's wonder, you know. And you ask any scientist, any mature scientist, they will not say, I know everything about the universe. They only know that there is a lot more to know. So when the process of knowing does not end, that's when I say there is a beautiful I don't know.
So knowledge is knowing that there are lots of things you don't know and accepting it and then going on a quest to learn more.
Absolutely.
I get the impression that in your scheme of things, where enlightenment is sought inwardly and the art of living is to manage stress, there isn't a lot of room for God. Where does he fit in?
First, what is your concept of God? You know, today there are so many theologies and so many theologies. They all have different concepts about God. So I haven't touched on that. If you say God is love, of course you can feel it, experience. You are that. God is the consciousness which is beyond body, mind, breath, mind, ego, intellect. Of course you are that.
And love is common.
Absolutely.
Whereas God, if you define him by the names by which different religions know him, he then becomes separating.
Definitely. Then you think God sitting in some 7th heaven or 14th heaven, somewhere, some voice. You know, you get into a unverifiable jugglery of concepts.
Are you saying that God as Allah, Ram, Krishna, Christ and all the different names we know him by is dividing, but God as love is common to all of us?
Uniting.
Is uniting.
That's why I make a definite distinction between religion and spirituality. Religion I say as the banana skin and spirituality as the banana.
And yours is a quest for spirituality, not a following of religion in the conventional sense.
That's how people from various different religions could come together and appreciate life. I would say first let us know ourselves. Who am I? This quest about ourselves. No? Whatever ancient Vedanta has brought it us to us. No? Who am I?
The big question is, who am I?
Who am I?
And
Find
in
out.
the understanding of I lies the understanding of God as love. Let's take a break. I want to come back and talk about the nature of the person, the character of the personality sitting in front of me, who for many is the symbol of God and love. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. My guest is Shri Ravi Shankar. Let's talk about you. Your father says that you spoke to your mother from the womb during the 8th month of her pregnancy. Is that a fact, or is that just part of the legend that surrounds you?
I have no idea about it.
Do you believe the story yourself?
I don't know, but I'm very attached to my mother from the very beginning, and she was a wonderful lady.
So in other words, this is possible because of the attachment and closeness you felt.
Possible, yeah.
Your parents, in fact, speak of many miracles that you've either performed or that have been associated with you. For instance, the most commonly quoted story is that when you were a child and the swing collapsed and the chains fell outwards, thus saving your life. Do you think such stories are proof of miracles?
I think there are miracles in everybody's life. I don't give much importance to the small events. If you look in everybody's life, there are some miracle or other.
Except that
This all, all this indicates that there is some power, there is some orderliness in creation which envelops the whole universe.
except that when your father writes about the miracles in your life, he attributes to them connections almost with Krishna's life or even with Jesus' life. He almost writes in those terms.
For parents always children are very dear.
Are you saying don't take my father's writing seriously? Another
There may
story.
be facts in it, but I don't give much importance to those things. I feel that every moment in life is a miracle. The way the bird chirps and the way flowers blossom, the way people act, react.
But now you're using the word miracle in the sense in which people say creation itself is a miracle.
Creation itself is a miracle.
But only because we can't explain it. If we could, it would stop being a miracle.
Right. And you can't explain the whole creation.
So your miracles in your life are not really miracles, they're just unexplained events.
Absolutely right.
But you're consciously downgrading them now. Because another one that is often quoted and said is that you were barely 3 or 4 when you knew the Bhagavad Gita, and yet no one had actually taught it to you.
That's right. That I know. I remember that. I used to chant.
So that's a fact.
That's a fact, of course.
But then how do you account for it?
Consciousness is quite old, I feel. This is not the only time we are here. And this mind or consciousness have all the registered impressions from the past.
Are you saying that at the age of 3 or 4, the Bhagavad Gita you knew, because you chanted it, actually was a memory from a previous life?
So it's an impression in the consciousness from past.
What sort of childhood did you have?
Normal.
No, it can't have been completely normal. Very few of the rest
Many
of the
times
world.
I felt very out of place when I used to play with children. Sometimes I would look at football was very difficult for me to play. I was playing football and I had to kick the ball. I would look at my feet and I said, these feet cannot kick anything. So I would stand there staring at the ball, and I would lose. I couldn't play. Sometimes when people talk, all the children would talk all small silly things about cricket, about movies and all. It used to bother me. Oh, there is so much in this universe. Why are we talking about small little things?
So you consciously felt different to other children your age?
I felt like out of place. Something wrong with me, maybe.
Did you like that feeling, or did that feeling trouble you?
It was not a big trouble because I had my own little corner where I would sit and meditate, and I used to
So
chant
even at that young age, you would create your own world.
And I had some very good company. I had a teacher who was with Mahatma Gandhi for a long time, and another teacher who taught me something about the Vedas and all. He was also with Mahatma Gandhi, and he taught Mahatma Gandhi the Sanskrit and the Gita.
Were you, like most children are, naughty?
Yeah.
Very naughty?
I won't say very naughty, but I was quite naughty.
What sort of naughtiness would you do? Because on the one hand, at the age of 3 and 4, you knew the Bhagavad Gita and you could chant it. And on the other hand, you were conscious of being different and you didn't want to kick footballs because you thought it was the wrong thing to do. So when you say you were naughty, what sort of naughtiness do you have in mind?
I used to be playful and tease, and one thing I remember very clearly is my dad was going to the office, and I emptied his suitcase and his briefcase and filled it with all the toys. So he was going to an important meeting, and he went there and opened his box, and he felt so embarrassed. All the toys would fly out of his box. So things like that.
What did he do on that occasion? Did he beat you?
No, he's a very understanding man, and he knew quite a bit about astrology and all this also. So though he was a businessman, he's a businessman, and he was very cooperative and considerative.
Now, side by side with your spiritual development, you also had a fair measure of scholastic achievement in school. Were you conscious of the fact that you were doing well at school? Did it mean very much to you?
I was not that extraordinarily brilliant or rank student. I was okay.
But your father says you got an advanced degree in science when you were just 17.
Yeah, but it was not like I had a rank student, or I got double promoted once in the school.
That's quite an achievement. Most of us never get double promoted. What was this degree that you got at the age of 17?
Physics, chemistry, mathematics. I got a science degree.
And what level was it?
Bachelor of Science I did.
At the age of 17?
Yeah.
So today when the scientist in you looks at the spiritual guru, is the scientist skeptical of the spiritual guru?
I don't label myself. I don't label myself, oh, I'm scientist, I had to be this way, or I'm spiritual, somebody this way. I'm just what I am.
People say that he's a very successful guru, but he's guilty of commercializing spirituality. Does that sort of criticism irritate you? Because you often read it.
No, everybody has their own opinions, and for your consciousness, if you are doing what is right for you, that's good.
When you are a spiritual leader, and yet at the same time you're written about, and you see yourself on the front cover of magazines, is that for you a sign that you're reaching out to people and therefore of success? Or do you see that as distracting?
Actually, nothing distracts me. I'm here to do some service, so I keep doing my service.
Can I ask?
And it doesn't matter if some people announce me on the cover or not. It doesn't matter to me at all.
This is a mission.
All that I want is to see people smile and be happy. And I keep doing that, and it's happening well.
Thank you very much for being with us and making us smile. Thank you.